Make it strong, make it true. God, I have the worst handwriting. That's what I want to lean into with you for a few moments here. Thank you so much for clicking the link. If you've been around for a certain amount of time, a certain vintage, perhaps you even have more kilometers behind you than you have in front of you, maybe even the odometer has rolled over once or twice. Well, if that is the case, congratulations for surviving this long, because it is a strange, gnarly world from time to time. One of the beautiful things about it is the collection of ideas and songs that you have in your mind, that you have stored in your heart. Your library of experience when it comes to the best music in the world is rich. One of the downsides to that is when you have all that behind you, it is much harder for some people to get excited about what is in front of them now, what is new. I know this because a lot of you reach out to me saying, where's the band? Where's the music, folks? You know, they make me feel a certain way. Well, listen, a lot of times when you feel that way, there'll be people in your life who will say, oh, you're just being old. And there's an element of truth to that. We must concede, but not always. It's true. We go through these lulls where you look around and just go, I don't know. Maybe it just all seems a little flat right now. Maybe the snake of capitalism and the snake of creativity get just a little too intertwined, and you feel like you're just getting sold a bill of goods, wolf tickets, as Tom Waits used to say. Well, I'm happy to report that we are not in one of those lulls right now. There is so much great music out there that is about something. It's not just a fight. It's also fun. It's not just about a political experience. It can also be about sex and drugs. And it's not always rock and roll. Sometimes it's a mix of rock and roll and punk and post-punk with a whole bunch of dance music and hip hop as well. That's how I feel about the band that I want to introduce you to today. If you know them, you know why I'm so excited. If you don't know them, new problem. That's why I'm here, to put them on your radar. They are about so much. Yes, they're political. Yes, they're about the human experience. They most certainly have that fight in them. One of my favorite things about them is that the fight is not just their own personal fight, but they'll also use their platform and their voices to stand up for the marginalized and the victimized around the world. They get lots of love for it, and they get lots of hate for it as well. There's a movie that came out that was an Oscar-considered film. They wrote it, they starred in it, they played themselves, it was scripted, it was going to be nominated, it should have been nominated, in the Best International Film, because it's a different language they speak in. And it's the language they speak that is political, because that language was also banned. I'm talking about speaking Irish. They are from the north of Ireland. They are called Kneecap. I want to play you one part of this interview now. Then there'll be another part, and then there'll be another part. Click the link, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends. The almighty Kneecap. I think you're going to love these guys. Sex and drugs and big fights. Here comes Kneecap.
You have to be able to talk about drugs. You have to be able to talk about sex.
Nobody's safe from getting the piss taken out of them.
We're standing on the shoulders of giants.
What a run you guys have been on, the whole crew. I mean, have you had any opportunity to take stock of it and get a sense of what's been happening in the Kneecap world?
I suppose we do have moments when we're together, going down the red carpet, for example, in the BAFTAs, talking to Edward Norton or fucking whoever it is, talking about the movie. We have moments like that there that kind of gives us an opportunity to think about the kind of grand scale of things, and like how much the movies kind of went beyond Ireland, and the movie especially, and the music. But obviously the movie kind of helped us in a sense to get the music to places that maybe we thought wouldn't have been possible.
Right. I mean, it's a world you probably, I don't know if you, when you were growing up, you thought this was going to be your ticket to see the whole world and to see it this way.
Yeah, I don't think any of us could have thought that it would be our passport to the world, really. We're just back from the Arctic last week. We went up to northern Finland.
Yeah.
We were doing some TV show there, so we got to build an ice igloo and stay in it overnight and go fucking ice fishing, just like plunging a hole in the middle of a river, and we camped on top of the river and got to see some of the northern lights and got our eyelashes frozen together. It's just experiences like this that kind of come off the back of doing music. So it's taken us to places we've never even thought of we would get to. Like,
I grew up in Canada, so the ice fishing thing is all too familiar. I was just in Greenland, and you were in Greenland as well. Did you head up to Greenland?
No, we were actually in Finland.
That was Finland. Okay, all right, cool.
Our manager put out Greenland just taking the piss, because I think Donald Trump said something about owning Greenland or buying Greenland, so we're kind of having a wee dig at Donald Trump there.
I love it.
But we were in Finland.
Oh, I love it. I love that. So much of us who are inspired either by punk or post-punk or even hip-hop dance scene, it's very localized, and it's these scenes. And so these bands that most of the public will never hear of inspired so many. And then somehow there's this universality in your story. And Kneecap has become this, I understand that people, as you said, all over the world are starting to connect to what's happening there. And I on any level, is that a surprise to you guys that it has resonated with people around the world, even though struggle is universal?
I mean, I think like when punk music was coming about in whatever the 70s and the 60s, 70s, 80s, it always comes at a time, that type of music, when people are sick of like the mainstream like pop music or the popular music or popular culture then, and people usually gravitate towards something that is going against the grain. And I think we're a part of this new wave. It's not we're punk music, but the ethos of punk, of like looking for something different that like has a different has more substance to it, maybe. And maybe that's something, that an element that punk maybe was missing, is something that we're trying to offer, is this cultural aspect to it, and like the language. And I think that's the reason why maybe it does resonate with people in Ireland and Scotland and America, and going to Australia, here in New Zealand, the Maoris, because there is more than one language in the world. There's more than English, and like all the major languages, English and Spanish.
Yeah.
And like there is a certain sense that once all these languages disappear, we're going to lose a certain perspective on life, and lose a way to communicate. And that's the way it is all around the world, because there's obviously so many languages. And with colonization happening, when it did happen, it was the same story. The same thing happened in India as it did in Kenya, as it did in Ireland, as it did in Scotland. So the fact that we're talking about the stuff we talk about and presenting music the way we do, I think that's why it resonates, because we all have a similar history, even though we come from completely different places.
Yeah.
Probably can't even speak to each other, but we still have that common shared history. So I think, especially with the movie and with the music as well, but the movie especially, we've seen this kind of, we've talked to people about this, how this resonates with them, and not only makes them think about Ireland, but makes them think about their own relationship with their own language and their own culture.
What do you think are the confluence of events that have to happen for you to be the guys to do this?
There's thousands of years of Irish speakers who refuse not to speak Irish, and who refuse to be downtrodden, and especially in the west coast of Ireland, there in the Gaeltacht areas, where the language was kept alive through brutalisation, through colonisation, through famine, through all types of attacks and indemnities. Like they kept it alive, and so we're standing on the shoulders of giants, and people are proud to speak the language again, and they want to see different avenues for the language.
Right.
And people are taking them down weird and wonderful avenues instead of just teaching. So it's not confined to the four walls of the classroom anymore. It's a social language. It's spoken in an urban setting, and like we've said it before, if a language is going to be alive, it has to be alive in all aspects of life. You have to be able to talk about drugs, you have to be able to talk about sex, you have to be able to talk about anything that you can talk about in all these majority languages.
I got to tell you, when I watched the film, I love the film for many, many reasons, but there were a couple of things that happened in the film that I did that old school spit your drink up when you took the guy that played Bobby Sands and you called him Bobby Sandals. And I couldn't believe.
But I do think this kind of, whatever way you call it, memification, or like putting it into a different context that isn't so serious, is a means of the current generation to kind of understand it, to make light of it. And like, we always talk about this, like when we chat away to people from the Shankill, like people from the Protestant backgrounds, like we're never afraid to take the piss out of each other.
What you're saying there about the Bobby Sandal was one, especially the sensitivities around that. If you said that to someone in the generation right before us, that could have got you into like a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
And I think that we're the generation now where you have to kind of take the piss out of it to take the sting out of the past. So I think that's what gave us that courage to be able to make those jokes, and the jokes about the Brighton Bomb Hotel.
Below Me Like a Brighton Bomb is another one of those moments.
It's a good one. I think them two jokes are like a reflection on where we stand. Like, we're not here to make jokes about one side.
Yeah.
The fact that we have the Bobby Sandals jokes and then the Brighton Bomb joke, joke is like two sensitive subjects, but like one is kind of from our own community and one's from like another from England.
Yeah.
But that kind of sums up where we stand. It's like we're not here to pick one side. We're here to kind of dissect it all. And nobody is safe from getting the piss taken out of them. That's for sure.